All right, welcome back. It's RaceDay Nation. I'm Rob D'Amico alongside Michele Rahal. Again, after a decade-long hiatus, we are back with the show. We'll be doing this live. Right now, these are pre-recorded shows, but we will be doing these live where you can interact with us on Facebook Live and YouTube on those channels there. Just write a comment in, and it'll show up at the bottom of the screen here for you guys to interact with us here on the program. Bringing my guest in, or my co-host, I should say. And yeah, and you know what? This actually started off, the relationship started off where you called into the radio station back when I was in Florida, when I first started the show, where I think it was the WDAE, the sports animal, 620, gave me a half hour on a Saturday to talk racing. And then it just grew into this huge, 400 radio stations, 177
we
countries.
just clicked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just, boom, it just clicked. I don't know I can't even remember what the call in is. But then again, I can walk into a kitchen and wonder, why the hell did I walk in here?
Well, I can recall the phone call from you. It was like, caller one, you're on the line. All I hear is breathing heavy. I was like, hello? This is weird. But all good, man. We had a great time. We actually had a lot of racers call in just because they were listening to the show. I remember, who was it? Paul Gentilossi was on the golf course. Gave us a call one time, and
he did.
was like, hey, I'm out here playing golf, listening to you guys, and it was pretty cool. But, IMSA, I want to talk sports racing because one of the things I've done in the last decade is I've got to hang out and do some stuff on the side, a little side hustle with some exotic and sports cars, which has been really cool. Ferraris, Maseratis, Lamborghinis, you name it, Porsches, AMG, McLaren. And these are some of the cars that you will see when we talk about that are in F1. And F1 now is changing the car again for this year, hoping to add a little more, I should say ground effects, a little, where the dirty air helps these cars pass a little better, get up a little closer to each other. So hopefully we see that moving forward with the F1 series.
I think you're going to see that. I think the midfield teams, I'm not necessarily convinced that the order is going to change, the order of dominance or the order of competitiveness. I would say that I think it's going to be Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari fighting in there in the top. I'm impressed with the way the Ferrari looks. It's the old adage, look, if it looks fast, it probably is. Both of these cars, all three of these cars just look magnificent. What you can tell from the Red Bull, the RB18, it's they had originally used their show car for the intro, but the Mercedes that folks are seeing on the screen right now, absolutely one of the slickest cars I've ever seen. It's just shrink wrapped. Let's face it. It just looks gorgeous. And, they've taken on different tacts with the formula they've been given. Wheelbase is shorter, which I was all for. These cars were getting really long. And the fact that now they're having to channel air underneath the car, which is really an upside down wing. So it sucks the car to the track at, the faster you go. But the whole point was to remove the wash that comes off the back of the car so these cars could pull up on each other and not lose traction. And now it's somewhere around, they lose 18% of the grip when they're pulling up within 10 meters, something like that, of the car in front of them. Before it was 47%. So passing was ridiculous. It isn't going to cure it all because the cars are still wide. They've got wide, they've got taller tires. A lot of what they've done is to try to reduce that backwash, the dirty air, in order to get the cars closer together in a pass. And the one that you see now, the Ferrari, I think that's a really well done automobile. If you look at the side pods themselves, they're longer than Mercedes. They don't look like Mercedes, but they're flat top and they have the louvers, which were outlawed back in 2004, something like that, something ridiculous. And that's to be able to exhaust the cooling and allow for more of the Venturi tunnel effect to allow air underneath the car and to throw the backwash up over the car following. Is that going to work? It's going to work to some degree, but I think that just the bulk of the cars themselves, it's going to cause a backwash. You see the covers on the wheels. It's designed to do exactly the same thing, keep the air from flowing out of the wheels, causing backwash. It's to keep the air inside where they have to exhaust elsewhere. And one of the complaints the drivers have all popped up with is visibility. The tires are taller now. And from being in formula cars, that's all you see are the tops of your tires. You don't see anything else. And it's like trying to pull up, and these guys go so fast
Oh,
that the tiniest bit of aero is humongous. It makes all the difference in the world. So we'll see. Testing isn't going to tell us a lot. It's going to tell them a lot, but it won't tell us a lot. It will more than likely just to message people. They'll go and do a few low fuel runs with with a qualifying setup to see what it ends up like. Still gives them somewhat of the bragging rights. And we can't ignore that Netflix has had a lot to do with America now moving towards Formula One. People that just absolutely had nothing to do or no relationship with F1, they're now huge fans.
because
It's
of
be-
the Ozarks. No, but
Let's
they've done a
funnel
great
some
job.
money. Let's
Yeah,
launder that money.
that's a great point.
That's a great show.
It is. There's so much drama in that show. But
Oh
back to the
man,
Formula One.
yeah,
Yeah, I do. I find myself tuning into that thing and watching because I watched the race on TV. Now I can go back and see some of the behind the scenes stuff, what was going on, what made them make that decision, that kind of stuff, which is kind of neat. And I think it adds an element to, and with this year, Miami coming into play with their
yeah.
new race, which is going to be awesome. I'm hoping we get the opportunity to go down there and do a little broadcast because that would be a lot of fun to be down there for that first Miami GP, which will be a huge thing for the U.S.
It
market
would.
and for
Well,
Formula One.
we've got two races now, and they're actually talking about Vegas as a potential third. Or I think COTA, Circuit of the Americas, in Austin has the contract through 2024, something along those lines. I don't quite remember, but then I don't quite remember a lot of things. That's just the natural course of life.
You notice sometimes during the show, I'll go, he's Michele Rahal, I'm Rob D'Amico. That's just to remind him who he is.
Exactly.
He needs a
Reel
little
him
help
back
every now.
in like a fish. Reel him back in. He wanders.
Yeah. Well, if you start getting up and doing one of these off the side of the screen, we got problems. We
It
might
could
have to take
happen.
another decade off.
It could happen.
All right, but those are some of the changes with that car, and I think the wheels look a little different. The little wing that comes over the top of the wheels is
Yep.
a little different. You could tell that they're trying to push air down and then over, and then it actually, when it comes out the back of the car, it looks like it's actually trying to take it down below their little wing in the back there, which I found a little odd because I thought they were trying to get it, and it may be that it works out because how wind goes over cars and it doesn't look like,
Yeah.
they had these little winglets everywhere and to just try and push things in a certain direction.
Yep.
And maybe that's what it does. It takes it, hits the wing, pops it up, gives you a little opening for the car behind you to get in there. And
The diffuser, the way ground effects works is if you look at an airplane, the way the wing is designed, it's round on top, flat on the bottom. Has to do with low pressure, high pressure. Well, it's the same principle with these formula cars. Having driven a ground effects car and seen them without the side pods on, it's an upside down wing on either side of the car. Ours was through the side pods. Now these cars are the floor. So literally, what they're trying to do is to get the cars. They had actually entertained not running a front wing, which Formula One has done in the past when they had ground effects. The difference is these cars, to get true ground effects that really suck the car to the track, you need to seal the sides of the car off. So the floor is a very integral part of these cars now, even more than in the past, because they've got to be able to channel the air. It's an upside down wing, remember? So the faster they go, the more they suck to the track. And the diffuser in the back's designed to throw the air up and over the car behind them. Is that going to work? It's going to work to some degree, but as I'd said before, the width of the cars, the size of the cars, they're still punching a huge hole in the air, and there's still going to be some disturbed air. Um, Nonetheless, if it pulls the mid pack teams closer together, then I think it's a victory, particularly for Ferrari. Ferrari could very well become, it could be a third wheel in the fight for a championship. We just don't know. We don't
Yeah.
know who's got what. All you can do is look at the cars, make a guess, and we really don't know what I mean, because it was in disguise, the RB18, and what they produced for Red Bull. What they produced was a show car for the reveal, and then they showed it in, in testing, not testing, but their filming day. But it was a camouflage car, so we really don't know what that one's going to look like either. It doesn't make any difference. We're not going to know anything, even after testing. We'll have some idea, but so will they. There'll be a lot of changes. So, what we see in testing isn't what we're going to see necessarily when that first race kicks off in Barcelona.
And that's what I kind of felt like with the
Bahrain, I'm sorry.
duels. Yeah, Bahrain. But I felt like it with the Daytona, these guys with the duels. I didn't really feel like they were going to show their hand. And that's why Joey Logano is starting so far back, is because, he was like, all right, I'm going to take a risk here. I'm going to try and block a car. And he got wrecked, threw it up in the wall, had to go to a backup. And now they're down one car already starting. And listen, it is Team Penske and they have a lot of money, but
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if you don't have the parts
you
and
don't have
pieces
the
to put these
parts.
cars. Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting part of today. How and when do they decide to go? Because listen, we know with the super speedway racing, it's going to be the conga line in the beginning of the race. Just understand that, because a lot of people go in, they talk out, it's the Daytona 500, it's the biggest race, great American race, this, that, it's going to be great action. And then you sit there and watch cars go around in single file. No, you got to understand what happens in this race. And then at the end,
Yeah.
that's where the real action is going to take place.
Because everything they do is designed to set up for the end. So when you see them in a conga line, but then there's a caution or there is a regularly scheduled pit stop, watch and notice what changes they make to the car.
Yeah.
Because every change that they make is designed for the last 5 laps of that race.
Yeah.
And how are these cars going to act? The Cup cars, how are they really going to act when they're under pressure? And that pressure is going to start lap 50.
Yeah.
I mean,
I did
50 from the end.
I did notice that in the duels, the Fords seem to work together better. When you got like 4 or 5 Fords together, they can kind of pull away. That is their group that they bring and take along. Now, the one thing to that is Kevin Harvick. You remember the old cars that used to have the little crab crawl looking car?
Right. They no longer can do it.
No, actually they can,
They
because
tried, but they got fined.
well, Harvick is doing it this year with the new car, and it looks bizarre, and I think that's why he was more set up for racing conditions, but I'm not sure it worked out. Let's see if today you notice the crab crawling as much as he had in the duels, because I think they were trying some different things, and it wasn't really working out to his favor in the duels.
NASCAR actually confiscated wheels. They threw down some because these cars are supposed to be symmetrical now, not
That's right.
asymmetrical. So the body and the car should line up straight. And they were doing this with spacers, underneath the car. And with that crab crawl, Harvick is liable to come under some scrutiny from NASCAR for that. I don't know that to be true. You
Yeah.
never know with NASCAR, but That was the cars were designed to allegedly eliminate that stagger.